The Prime Minister has added to the pressure on the former head of the Post Office, saying he would support a probe into Paula Vennells and her CBE. Rishi Sunak also vowed to do everything he can to make it right, adding that he wants compensation payments to be out the door as quickly as possible.
Now, all political parties want the matter to be resolved, but, as we've been saying this morning, no party has their hands entirely clean in this matter. We can take a look at how all three major parties let down the postmasters and rewarded the post office bosses for it.
Big deep breath. Former Chief Executive Paula Vennells earned £5 million and was handed a CBE in the 2018 Honours list by Theresa May for leading privatisation, which began under David Cameron and George Osborne.
Well, Osborne's best man, Peter Davies, worked for a firm which made $36 million from the Royal Mail sell-off.
Former chairwoman Alice Perkins earned $100,000 a year from 2011 to 2015 and is now married to Labour's former Home Secretary Jack Straw.
If we look at the Labour leadership, Sir Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions from 2008-2013. He now says all cases should be revisited and the CPS should take over, but he failed to do that when he was in charge.
Well, the Lib Dems, they had ministers in charge of the Post Office during the height of the scandal, including current leader Sir Ed Davey. They are all mired, ladies and gentlemen, aren't they?
Mired, at least involved. It shows, I think, some of the depth of how complex this story is and how difficult it is now when people are finger-pointing to actually lay blame in one corner. In the studio with us now, talkTV's political correspondent Alicia Fitzgerald, alongside former Conservative advisor Charlie Rowley. Alicia, we've just sort of painted a picture there. There are so many parties who, at the very least, could have done a lot more when they were in charge.
Definitely. So this is a scandal that has stretched across such a big period of time that numerous governments have been in power over the period by which it was happening. So it began in 1999, ended 2014 to 2015. So in that time, we've had a Labour government, we've had a Liberal Democrat and Conservative Party coalition, and then we've had the Conservative Party since the end of that. So really, every single party could have played a bit of a role there, and every single party at the moment is trying to say, hang on, it wasn't me, it was the other person, which doesn't really stand at the moment.
Charlie, welcome to the show. I called it earlier the biggest miscarriage of justice probably ever in this country. It says something about our country that it takes an ITV drama for people to finally focus on this. I know Nick Wallace has been banging this drum along with the Lord of Arbuthnot. We did a show 12 months ago on it. It is disgusting, and we can sit here and we can talk about political blame and we can talk about compensation. Charlie, these people, some took their lives. Some died without proving their innocence. People's lives have been blighted. It's disgusting. And the very least I think the government should do, we were talking about this earlier, is not put these people back through a court of appeal. Just exonerate them and pay the money, for goodness sake, right?
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, look, the amount of people who have been affected by this is huge. It is one of the biggest national scandals. It reminds me similarly, obviously a different topic, but, you know, the blood-infected inquiry, you know, where many people were relying on the NHS and treatments and constantly being told by some big organisation, don't worry, everything's fine, you know, nothing to see here, no problem. The NHS and the Health Secretary is not taking responsibility. In this particular case, you've got a post office and ministers that have been, seems to me, led up the garden path by the post office, but, you know, questions for them, why were they not asking the right questions or even more probing questions? Where is Paula Vennells? Who's this?
Where's Ed Davey?
Where's Ed Davey? All these people have got questions to answer, and I think it's an absolute scandal that, well, first of all, yes, it's a scandal that it takes an ITV a drama to bring this to light, but it's an absolute scandal that there are people in this country who have died with a conviction that has clearly been wrong, and they will never have that overturned for their families.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is something that is the biggest miscarriage of justice.
We had a couple of victims on yesterday, and you could just see it's not about the money. It really is not about the money. It's about the fact that in their local communities, they were trusted. They were the focal point of those communities, and they had to put up with being ostracised.
This is it, and a point that's really important to remember is that these aren't people who are wrongly convicted of a crime. These are crimes that didn't exist.
Absolutely. And then they were made to accept them and say we did it to avoid a custodial
Exactly.
sentence, and then the Post Office decided to prosecute them.
Exactly. So it just adds another layer to it. It's not just a case of, oh, someone's been accused of doing wrongdoing and actually there's someone else who's to blame for this. Actually, it's a huge, huge miscarriage of justice on a huge scale. No one here committed the crime, really. There wasn't one person to blame. There was a huge issue with the technology and lots of really dodgy kind of coverings up with the Post Office.
There is a chance now, Charlie, to act far faster than we have done for years, as we've laid out. It looks like Rishi Sunak, the Justice Secretary, are trying to do that as quickly as possible and cross-party support to do it. If they wanted to, they can solve this pretty quickly.
Yes, they can, and they should, because I think without politicising the issue, because it's something that, as we've all said, has happened for years and years, Rishi Sunak needs to get on course with public opinion. And the public are very much on the side of the people that have been wrongly convicted. I think you're absolutely right, Jeremy. It goes to that point about where there may be, let's be absolutely honest about this, there may be one or two people that were working in the Post Office that might have dipped their hand into the till, but that would be on such a small scale. The reality is it's gone so much further the other way, whereas too many people have been wrongly convicted of thousands of pounds, where actually it was the system that was at fault, and that's down to Fujitsu to cough up some of the money for the
I
compensation.
agree with that, by the way.
And so it is absolutely right that the government just gets a grip of this, overturns those convictions, get that, and that's when
En
you can
masse and quickly.
en masse, on scale, and then you can get that compensation out of the door. But you can only do the first before the second.